So I don't really know, I guess, exactly why I'm making this video, except maybe to introduce myself again. I've been around quite a while in the men's movement and the manosphere in general, but I really haven't had much of a presence in the last few years. So really what I should do is sort of let you know kind of where I came from, etc., for anybody that actually gives a shit. And then to kind of give a little bit of commentary on sort of what I've seen that's been going on and sort of in relation to my own past. And there's actually a very limited number of people that would actually be interested in this shit, but I figure I might as well get it out there. One of the first things that I should address is actually this crap article by Charlotte. Just for the record, anybody that actually is watching this video that might actually be familiar with it, I am the person that Charlotte is characterized as disowning his daughter for making a rape accusation. And the simple truth of the matter is that there was no rape. It was a straight up false accusation being concocted between my daughter and her friend right in front of me from scratch, that I had explained to her that doing something like that isn't this small little issue that she figured that it would be. It was actually a life-destroying sort of an issue for a guy, and that I would disown her if she had done that. After having had me explain what was involved for a rape accusation for a guy, and sort of the consequences that could happen from it that she might not have been aware of at the time. And the simple fact of the matter is that I didn't think at that time, nor do I now, and nor will I ever think that there was any real possibility of there being an actual accusation being made. It was just more or less a fantasy being created between two high school girls that were kind of creating ways to get back at some guy that had wronged them. Neither one of them would have likely done anything like that. But the problem is that when you play around with these things in your head, it becomes something that becomes more and more acceptable. And anybody who has teenage girls either around them or as a child or whatever that they're taking care of, if you're in any way aware of what's going on in high schools these days, that you'll know that this sort of thing actually happens as almost like a badge of honor in high school, and it's frightening that it is taken so lightly. And I think that that's primarily because, and judging from my own daughter's reaction when I made this comment to her, it had never occurred to her at all that there would be seriously negative consequences from it. They figured that they would, suffer a little bit of blowback as far as, like negative rep around the school for a little bit, and that was about it. But it had never occurred to them at all that this kid could be arrested, could spend time in prison, could be raped himself while in prison, could be beaten and even killed by vigilante groups, could be forced into a depression so deep that they committed suicide. All of which are things that have happened as a result of false rape accusations. And most of those most of those false rape accusations were actually just a lark that they decided that they wanted to get back at this guy with, much like what my daughter was talking about, that had spiraled out of control, and that they didn't want to, take anything back because they were afraid of what might happen to them. And then what ended up happening was even worse to this innocent guy. And I did not want to see that kind of thing happening. Not in my wheelhouse. So if that makes me an irresponsible father, then I guess it does. The simple fact of the matter is that I don't believe that making up shit like a rape accusation just to get back at a dude, or for attention, or for any other reason than the fact that you may have been raped, is a legit reason to make that accusation. And I made this very clear to my daughter, and I think every parent should. There's no reason to say, go ahead and say whatever you want, let the law sort it out. Because the law has no interest in sorting it out. The law wants to clear their caseload, and that's really about it. So as a parent, you are the one that is responsible for what your children do, both boys that engage in non-consensual activity, or girls for that matter, and those who make false rape accusations. You, as a parent, did not instill in your children a respect for honesty. Now, does that make you black as pitch? I don't know. That's not really what I'm after here. What I'm saying is that I firmly believe that my daughter, having a proper perspective on the seriousness of a rape accusation, was partly my province as a parent to educate her on. Now, I understand that this Charlotte guy, he's a journalist and he's got an agenda just like all the rest of them do. It does not surprise me, and it did not surprise me to see that he had taken these particular issues and twisted them. Actually, the only two things that he made mention of me in were the two things that I had mentioned sort of to clarify a point rather than as part of the actual narrative, and had told him not really, I was not comfortable with things about my family being published, both of which he published, and both of which he misrepresented and got the facts wrong. Now, is this something that I feel like I have a need to do something about? No. I fully expected it because journalists, well, who the fuck trusts them? Who believes a thing anybody on mainstream media says? Really, honestly. I mean, if you believe a single thing that Anna Maria Tremonti says, other than the fact that what she's saying is straight up, right out of the powers that be's desire for you, the public, to know. If you think that this chick or any of the rest of these guys are operating under their own free will, you're out of your fucking mind. If you take a look at the media in the United States and you take a look at the tree of who owns who, you'll look at and you'll see that there's about 6 corporations that own 90+% of every single media outlet in the United States. That's television programs, television channels, newspapers, magazines, websites, you name it. 6 corporations. Now, these are the same corporations that also have heavily in their corporate ownership trees an awful lot of military-industrial complex stuff, as well as entertainment, as well as. So these are all very large, very wide scope corporations. They do everything from making movies and TV programs to making bombs to making breakfast cereal. But they all kind of go to one of 6 different major corporations. And these are also major contributors to both political parties. Now, if you think that the people in the media are going to actually report anything that does not conform to the agenda set forth by either their editorial board or by perhaps a corporate policy slant, an editorial slant. Maybe there's a political agenda that the owners of these particular companies have decided that they wish to support. I think it's a fairly easy thing to say that feminism, for example, as a political agenda, has been adopted by the mainstream media in general as editorial policy. Now, this could be because there's 6 corporations running them, or it could be because everybody in media is a feminist, or it could be because everybody in society is a feminist. I think it's less and less likely as you go down that scale. But the simple fact of the matter is that to have the mainstream media report on the men's movement at all in anything but derogatory terms is anomalous. You should not expect it, ever. Not only that, but every word that is being said, or every thought, or every idea, I guess, being expressed will be twisted in whichever way possible to present the most negative narrative they can possibly squeeze out of what they've done. I don't give a fuck. Because honestly, the powers that be, the politicians, the corporate masters, we're talking like really high up. We're talking like George Soros and Bill Gates and all the rest of that. We're talking Koch brothers. We're not talking like the CEO of the local mega farm. Okay? These people tend to support feminism. You look at, for example, Emily's List, you look at feminist initiatives, you look at the things that the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation are doing. All of them are in line with feminism. There's some information floating around on the internet talking about how, Gloria Steinem and Miss Magazine was actually started by the CIA, etc., but that's not even really necessary for the narrative. If you take a look at the major corporate sponsors and the people that are sponsoring feminism throughout the world, you'll find that it's pretty much split between government, different agencies, etc., right? And the 0.0001 percenters, the very top, the creme de la creme, the guys that have balance sheets that are larger than countries, right? We've got people who measure their net worth in billions or trillions even. These people are the ones that are funding feminism. Now you got to ask yourself, how likely is it that these people are going to stop doing what they firmly believe in? Now, for whatever reason it is, they may be cynically using feminism as a path to gain whatever control they're looking for, as some conspiracies there say, or they could just simply be devout, dyed-in-the-wool feminists that believe they're doing the right thing. It is immaterial. It does not matter. They are doing what they are doing. Are these people convincible? I doubt it. I doubt it very much. People at that sort of level of society are pretty much always convinced that whatever they're thinking is the right thing. And anybody who disagrees is just simply wrong, uneducated, etc. I'm sure we've all run into that sort of an attitude. So we have the ultimate elite of society, the richest of the rich, that are very heavily behind feminism. And we've also got government on the other side of things that is also heavily behind feminism. Here in Canada, I think it is very safe to say that feminism is essentially the unofficial religion of Canada. You can do and say pretty much whatever you want in Canada, provided that you do not go against the feminist narrative. However, should you go against the feminist narrative, you will not only find that the social issues that are facing you are significant, shall we say, but you'll also find a fair degree of government scrutiny, which you've got to wonder, I mean, okay, again, it doesn't matter. Is feminism a thing that government created, or is government just simply infiltrated with an awful lot of feminist true believers? Immaterial. Does not matter. Government is doing what government is doing, regardless. So when you get into these debates between MRAs, MGTOWs, PUAs, red pills, traditionalists, what I find is a significant lack of perspective in the size and the scope of exactly what is facing us as a society. Not just simply the men's movement, but the people that formulate the entire society. Because a lot of people really aren't interested in gender issues, and nor should they be. It's terminally boring shit. The problem is, some of us are obsessive about this crap. If you take a look at what we're facing right now on a geopolitical scale, just how high up the scale of political awareness or political importance should men's issues really be? We have the Ukraine, where we've got a proxy war, essentially. There's no real way to argue against this. A proxy war between NATO and Russia. You have Russia that has flat out said that should the NATO forces encircle Russia with anti-ballistic missile batteries, that they will fire off a nuclear first strike attack. Meanwhile, you have the United States that has basically published their military doctrine stating a preference for a nuclear first strike attack because they have the anti-ballistic missile capabilities that they do. Now, I make no judgment on either of these positions. All I am saying is that we have, in the Ukraine alone, the potential for a world-destroying nuclear holocaust. Now, we've also got, at the same time as this, we have what is a terminally big problem, is the Middle East. The Middle East, we have a Sunni-based militia called ISIS, or ISIL, that is systematically killing, crucifying, and beheading Christians and Jews, and non-Sunni Muslims, I might add, to the tunes of tens of thousands of people crucified, beheaded, etc., including children as young as 2 or 3 years old. We have now the situation in Yemen, where we have Iran-backed Houthis taking over the country of Yemen, now being counterattacked by other Sunni Arab nations, not least of which is Saudi Arabia, who is implicated heavily in supporting ISIS. So you've got a cauldron of really nasty, nasty shit happening in the Middle East. You've got a really fucking volatile situation where both sides acknowledge that they are using their troops not in their uniforms already in Ukraine. Then you add, for example, the political situation in the Pacific with China, who also happens to own most of the U.S. debt and has decided to start its own World Bank. Take all of this into perspective. This is just the foreign affairs portfolio of what is facing the United States at this point in time, and you got to ask yourself, just how much tinkering do they want to do with the crap that they've got in place right now? Even though they know that where they're headed is for disaster on this current trajectory. Every social indicator says, watch out, we're fucked. But you got to ask yourself, like, why are they not doing anything about this? Because if they do, what if they do something wrong? Or if you're going to put on a tinfoil hat, which I do on occasion, I do. Perhaps what they're doing right now is actually something the government wants. Maybe they want social discord. Maybe they want family breakdown. Maybe they want a population of 46 million Americans on food stamps. Maybe they want it so that it's easier to control them that way. Again, completely immaterial. Here's what is facing the manosphere in general and the men's movement in terms of activist terms. What the fuck are we going to do about it? The truth is, most of what we're doing right now is pissing into the wind. We're occupying ourselves with bread and circuses of a different sort, which is why we've really largely gone under the radar. But you have to ask yourself, at what point do we decide what we want out of society? We don't do that. We don't actually talk about what we want because we're afraid of being labeled something bad. Are you a misogynist? Are you a racist? Are you a constitutionalist? Are you right-wing? Are you left-wing? See, the question is why are we so tied up in all of this ideological pigeonholing? And why are we afraid to actually talk about what we want rather than what we don't want? What's with all the negative vibes, babe? Well, I posit the main reason why we can't talk about what we would like to see rather than what we hate seeing is because we have been divided along ideological lines. Yes, I used air quotes. That's how serious this is. The point is, MGTOW, great idea, gains lots of attention, doesn't even have to actually happen on purpose. Is it the answer? No, of course not. There's an awful lot more to life than what MGTOW offers in terms of solutions. However, it offers an excellent basis to approach the rest of these things from. MGTOW is about self-sufficiency, self-determination, understanding where you are in this world and where you want to be. It does not necessarily, in my personal view, not necessarily mean a total separation from women in terms of your livelihood. However, MGTOW is not complete. First of all, it does not have an awareness of most things. It's basically a reactionary thing. I've been stung from this, I've been stung from that, therefore I withdraw. The men's rights movement actually offers a little bit more to that. It actually offers some flesh to put on those skeletal bones. And it says, well, hey, listen, you know, here's the legal situation that you find yourself in. Here's the societal view that most people view you with. Here is how you are expected by society to live your life. And here is where we think that's unfair. To some extent, the men's rights movement actually says, well, you know what? Here are some options, and here are some things that we can do to make some headway on this issue, or this issue. And that, to be frank, in terms of concrete, palpable things, is about as progressive, to lack of a better term. It's about as much progress as the men's movement as an activist group has made so far, just simply because it's calling for something to be brought into creation, a concrete goal. Now, it doesn't always do that, and it's not always correct in what it's decided has been, the most important goal, but it's actually doing something, which is more than nothing. Now, you've got the pickup artists, which I myself, I don't know if anybody's had much experience with. I've had a long history of trying to integrate the different aspects of the manosphere together. I did 2 magazines back in 2008, 2009, somewhere around then. And my firm belief is that every aspect of the manosphere has something to teach. Pickup artists, they brought to the table a rudimentary, at least, understanding of female nature. An understanding of female sexuality is probably the totality of what they bring. But they brought more than the rest of us did at all, in terms of knowledge. Not in terms of the willingness and the ability to parse information and find out the truth behind it, so much as the ability to observe and to create hypothesis from that, and to notice patterns and to document. The thing about the POAs is that they're actually remarkably more entertaining to read than most MRAs, and that's just partly because of the subject matter involved. But also, generally speaking, they're actually just generally better writers, because they're better communicators, because they pay attention to that shit. Okay, now, you take some of these people, you mix them together. In my view, you take MRA, PUA, and MGTOW and mix them together a little bit, and what you have is Red Pill. Now, there's a Reddit that is called Red Pill, which comes close to approximating my own personal conception of Red Pill. However, it's still highly sophomoric. I don't know how to put that. And I think that's got more to do with the fact that there's so many people subscribing to it that have zero idea what's going on. It's got nothing to do with the actual mods, okay? They are probably among the best mods on Reddit, simply because they can keep 104,000 people at this time on message, to the point where it's still a coherent subreddit, which takes a lot. What should men be doing going forward from here, though, with the understanding that is brought to the table by MRAs, MGTOWs, PUAs, Red Pill, traditionalists? And that's one thing that I just seem to disagree with the entire manosphere on. I think traditionalists have a lot to offer. And the reason why I do is because I think that we as a society still need to exist after whatever this crap is we're going through now is thrown to the ground. Precious little thought is actually given to where we're headed. I see lots of Red Pill guys saying, hey, take this knowledge that you have and enjoy the decline. And I agree to some degree, because simply you have to. You have no choice. There's no way that you can change what's happening. Or is there? See, a long time ago, a lot of people got mad at me because I spent a lot of time doing this. Not this, but if you look on this channel, you'll find that there's a, I think, I can't remember the name of it, but if you go there, very first video I posted on this channel was, to my knowledge at least, the very first video posted by an MRA using his own voice with his face on the video, So I've been there, I've done that. I've seen the movie and I bought the t-shirt. I've been hauled in. I've been questioned. I've had a lot of people make phone calls to my boss. I've seen it all. I've been through it all. Do I think that I have all the answers? Hell no. I actually really hope to get the answers. Because what is coming is not something that we can actually control. All we can do is cope the best we can. And really, to me, that's actually the key. That is what the red pill is all about. It is a million armies of one. It is not one army of a million. But each group of us among the manosphere has something valuable to teach. The thing is, we need to start learning more from each other. I have people in mind when I say things like this. I have certain groups in mind and certain criticisms in mind when I have these sorts of things to say, but I don't think that this is the proper venue or the time to do it. I'm sorry, I've been inactive for got to be close to 3.5 years now. Most of you out there that might be watching this would have no idea who the fuck I am. But guys like Paul, Karen, Allison, well, Karen and Allison aren't guys, but Paul, Karen, Allison, John the other, Neil Westlake, all of these people will know who I am. Ira and John. So, and I'm not saying that to pump my head up. I'm just telling you that I'm not quite as uninformed as somebody just popping out of nowhere might appear to be. So, if you can take this with whatever grains of salt you require and give it some thought, maybe give me some comments below. And I would really like actually to hear from other YouTubers that may be interested in seeing finally another video from Factory. And if you have anything to say, anything that you would like to contribute, actually hell, if you want to start an argument, because I think that'd be fun. But please reply below. Below.